Can I get a motion to take, to be out of recess?
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion on the table, properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. So we are going to continue with the fiscal year 2024 budget for the city of Lawrence, proposed by the Mayor Brian De Peña. Today, June 5th, 2023, we have a few departments. The Lawrence Public School Department, Council on Agent. Within the Council of Agent, we have the Recreational Department, the Veteran Services. So, since the Lawrence Public School budget is greater larger than the Council on Agent, we're gonna start with the Council on Agent, so they can go home and we can proceed with the discussion later on about the Lawrence Public School. So, with that said, we're gonna discuss the budget for Council on Agent. On the book, this is located on page 134 to 136. Martha Velez, welcome again. Name and address for the record.
Good evening, Martha Velez, 155 Haverhill Street, Lawrence, Mass. Thank you, councilors. My budget is basically level funded, but the only thing that has changed is the non-union raises. And other than that, there was no changes. One person left and longevity went down. And I have requested the same amount of money, so my budget is basically the same. If you have any questions?
Yes, we probably have some questions, but
Okay.
do you mind going over with the basics of the budget? What do you guys do and what do you use the funds for and so far so on?
Okay, so Director of Human Services, that's myself. Confidential Secretary is someone that works with me, under me, and is an administrative assistant to me. The Coordinator for Elder Programs is an outreach worker that deals with all elders that have issues and appointments and need any papers, citizenship, any kind of medical appointments, SNAP, does all that stuff. Program assistants are the people that work downstairs, that are the people that welcome all the seniors and set them up for appointments with either we're going on a trip or any programs that we have, sign them up for trips, sign them up for classes, and any activity that we have, they work with that, lunches, so on and so forth. Maintenance is the person that keeps our building clean. The other thing that we get is gas, electric, and utilities, which is $40,000, and then office supplies and operating supplies. The operating supplies, that's for the instructors that we have. So anybody that we get for exercise, anybody that we get for any kind of activity that we want to have, whether we have somebody come in and do magical shows or speak to people, any speakers that we want, those are all contracted services if we need something.
Martha, and that part of the budget is $340, correct? The operating supplies.
It's, no, it's right here. So energy is $38,000. I'm on page 135 for the Council on Aging. Okay,
I was on the one page.
okay.
Thank you.
I wish, but no.
Councilors, any questions in regard to this budget? I have a few questions. So the salary increasement that you see here, those are within that approved study that the city council approved and the mayor recommended.
Yes, sir. Those were the ones that were done by the Collin study. And the program assistants, it's 5, so there's 5 of them that work 18 hours a week.
How many hours a week?
18. So they come in shifts. Some people work 8 to 4, some people work 12 to 4. Some of them work different. Like, I have an exercise program, an evening exercise program. There's someone that works that program also.
So can you say that again? How many hours they work a week?
18,
So they're part-timers.
they're part-timers. 5 part-timers.
And what's the salary per each one? 6 to 7,000?
No, no, no. No, it's, you have to take 5 and divide it into 130, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So it's an average of about $24 an hour.
Councilor Infante.
Thank you. Director, earlier you mentioned the salary increases are all not union, so is your position a union position?
It's contracted. It's a
Contract.
contract.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Rosario.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being here, Director.
Thank you.
125,000 budget. Is that enough? How many times throughout the year, I don't remember last year, but how many times you came to us to request more money to run your department or human services?
Not a lot, but yeah, I go out and find grants. I mean, hopefully as long as I can find grants and I could do things. I mean, you know, the Recreation Department, Veteran Services. I mean, with 5 program assistants, it's good, but I would like to have more full-time staff because I think there's a lot more than we can do to run programs in the center and for elders in the community. There's a lot of issues right now with isolation and loneliness and elders after COVID and gas crisis. It's been a little bit difficult. So we actually do a lot of things with age span also, so.
So once again, running the same amount of money on a budget, when things have changed, things that go, the price of things are higher, and you think you're gonna make it, once again, with 125,000,
So 125,000 is my
or
salary.
human services?
No, no, no.
No, that's my salary.
You're looking at her salary.
So purchase of services.
500,000.
The 500,000, once again, I don't know why I'm stacking it in the 125s. With the 500,000, again, you came and asked for more money, and you're hoping to get all those grants out there. But once again, not even a single penny going up besides the salary, so how are you
Well,
gonna
yeah,
run it?
The mayor's office and Mark and Octavian have committed some ARPA money to Health and Human Services. So I'm waiting for that budget to come out so we can see how we can use it and help the center. So I'm hoping that's going to help also.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Councilor? I hear none, so we're going to proceed with the next budget, which is the Recreation Department.
Good afternoon, councilors.
Let me know this for the record.
Yep, Adelie Gonzalez, 6 Hillside Avenue in Lawrence.
All right, can you go through your budget, please?
Yep. For, when it comes to staffing, we have, for the director, we have a change of just $5,000, so it's gonna go from 69,000 from last year to 74,66. For my admin assistant, the change is based on the non-union, raises that we got, so she's going up 14,865 on that one, up to 55. And then I do have a program coordinator position that is being posted to be filled, and from that one, just 2,800 was cut to be brought down to 57,176. Then I have the 84,650, which is my salaries for temporary for the summer program, and that's what I have for staffing. When it comes to purchase of services, I do get 18,508 for electricity for the parks, and office supplies is 500, as well as operating supplies is 500, to be a total of 1,000 for supplies.
Councilors, any questions in regard to this item, to this budget? Councilor Infante.
Thank you. Director, why was the program coordinator salary decreased?
So since it's a union position, and depending on the person that's gonna be hired, since we're hiring somebody that's fairly new to the position, they'll start at the first grade level, so that's the grade level for the person that we're considering to be part of the position.
And this is also through the guidance of the Collins Center report?
Correct.
Thank you.
I have a question. The program coordinator, that position was never filled before.
Correct.
So first time, that was the money that we transferred from this line item to be on to another line item at the end of this fiscal year.
Correct.
So now, we reduced the budget to 57 because it's a union position.
Correct.
What union is that? What union?
It's the supervisor union,
Supervisor.
SEIU. It's the same union that the director belongs to.
Gotcha. All right. Any questions in regard to this budget? Just for the record, I would like to mention that the total amount for the recreational department at the city of Lawrence is $294,330 for this fiscal year, increased by $17,322. Any questions? I hear none, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next budget that we have is the Veteran Services. It's on page 137 to 140.
Good evening, Budget Committee and the Chair. I am,
Just for the record.
oh yes, Jamie Melendez, Director of Veteran Services, 67 Amherst Street, Lawrence, Mass. Here to serve.
By all
my
means, go through the
is-
budget. By all means, go through your
Okay,
budget.
yes. My budget is basically the same. The salaries all stay the same. I had a jump in salary for my confidential assistant. I don't see it reflected on the page here, but
Not here.
my understanding is that it will be going up again because of her position as confidential assistant. The longevity went up, the stipend is the same. The big portion of my budget that is unfortunately going down is the disbursement for our veterans. And again, that's simple demographics and the amount of veterans that are actually passing away. The fact that most of our veterans today are doing well, getting out of the service, and they are doing well. So that disbursement that I manage under Chapter 115, again, that's regulated under mass regs, and we are required to provide for those veterans that are living below the federal poverty level. Those numbers are dwindling, and that's just the result of our armed forces diminishing and losing numbers. So I got no issues with the budget, barring any questions from any of you.
Councilor de Rosario.
Thank you. I just have a comment. I mean, every year that you come up with the same amount of money, and you do an amazing job and such a big job. And to me, it's like we now evaluating what our veterans have done with this little budget.
I agree.
And you know that I mention it to you, and every time I see you and I ask you, how do you do it? And you continue to do it, which I thank you, because, I mean, struggling with this budget as you do, and you're still maintaining and doing the job that you do, great job, beautiful job, and wondering why we don't bring up this budget a little bit. And I see more the budgets going sky high, and we approving those budgets, and your budget don't change. And every year is a different event or different activity for our veterans, and somehow you don't get what that departments deserve, so.
I agree, Council, and I appreciate your thoughts. I am under the guidance of, the powers that be to levelly fund my budget, and that's what we do. Again, it is a struggle, but, we do what we can. I'm grateful to be able to do this job, as many of you know. I love our veterans and their families here in the city of Lawrence, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help them to the best of my ability. As a former medic, I can tell you, One of the very first words I learned was triage, and that's do the most good for the most people with what you have. Unfortunately, that's where I'm at. But yeah, I'd love to sit down with the committee and talk about other resources that we might be able to do.
So, but I mean, you have the time now, go ahead.
Oh, no, well, you know, I am under official guidance as to where I'm at with my budget right now. I still fall under the, as far as my salary, I'm under union, same union as director from recreation, but it is what it is.
It looked like the union people is not
No,
doing
they,
good.
yeah, it's,
Usually, that's not the case.
I know. Well, I'll tell you, my mama raised me right. If you got nothing nice to say, it's better to say nothing at all.
By the way, your mom is one of the persons in the city of Lawrence that have done the most for the Latino community. So thank you to
I
your mom
appreciate
and
that.
to your family.
I
Isabel
appreciate
Melendez.
that, thank you.
Councilors, any questions in regard to this budget? I hear none?
The Rosario said it all.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now going back to the top of the discussion, and we have the Lawrence Public School budget. Here on page 103, but the supplemental document, which is the budget, is on the separate location, which is in the Lawrence Public School website, for anybody that wanted to see it. So welcome, name and address for the record.
Good evening, Councilor Juan Rodriguez, Interim Superintendent of Schools. As you said, Councilor Rodriguez, should all have a copy of this. I think we dropped it off about 3 weeks ago. As a district, we're very pleased to be here tonight to present our budget. If you look at page 3 of our budget book, it represents continued significant commitment to a number of essential areas. Our investments in curriculum materials and professional development include digital intervention tools that adapt to students' needs and track student progress, coaching for new teachers, professional learning that supports tailored instruction for our multilingual learners who are learning English. Once again, we're going to support accelerated student learning through our Acceleration Academies and summer programming. This summer, and between the Acceleration Academies and summer program, support learning for over 6,000 of our students. We continue to believe in a holistic learning environment that supports students' social, emotional, as well as their academic wellness, which we know requires the right people and the right resources. This budget supports a 35% increase in counseling staff over 2018 numbers and 4 times as many behavior analysts. Student support teams of 8 or more staff at every school and high-quality training for restorative justice, trauma-informed sensitivity, and de-escalation. Our students and staff need quality buildings to teach and learn in, and this budget continues to invest in their improvement, whether that would be heating, ventilation, playground, safety equipment, or furniture. And also want to just, again, note that we did try to give you a copy of our ESSER grant funding in case you had questions about that. That is still a work in progress as we work on spending down those funds. You know, when ESSER funding does go away next year, we're happy to report that it will not have a significant impact on staffing levels or programmatic continuity within the Lawrence Public Schools. And we got to answer.
Quick question on that, very quick.
Yeah, any questions about that?
How you'll be able to manage the impact of these grants that we receive? And you can definitely say that we're not gonna have significant impact. How do you define
Yeah,
that?
you know, the support that the district receives through the Student Opportunities Act is going to, and also the increase in Chapter 70 state aid is going to allow us to have minimal, if any, impact on the ESSER funding going away. As you know, we've spent a lot of the ESSER funding on actual school improvements, like HVAC system at the Frost, boiler systems for some of our schools, aiding and defraying transportation costs and things like that. You know, so we're very confident in our projections over the next couple of years that it's going to have very, very little overall impact on our budget. Our FY24 appropriation is a little bit more than $260 million, supported mainly from state aid. And the FY24 budget represents a little bit over a $27 million increase from last year's fiscal year. If you look at page 5 in the budget book that we gave you. It just shows you the increase in our overall appropriation and our per pupil expenses. You'll see for next year, we're projecting to spend a little bit more than $19,000 per pupil. And again, an overall budget of $279 million, which through chargebacks and other things will have us at around $260 million as our outlay for the upcoming fiscal year. You do notice that the school department budget has increased from a little bit under $190 million in 2018. And as we said, we're going to be at about $280 million overall for the upcoming school year. We have, you know, a lot of school principals, department heads here. If you did have any questions about any part of the budget or any type of social emotional support, for example, or co-teaching or curriculum and instruction, and things like that, we'd be happy to answer any of those questions. If you look at page 8, that kind of details our revenues as far as how much we're receiving in Chapter 70 state aid, how much needs to go out in charter tuition, school choice, special education expenses, etc.
It is important to recognize that we have a total amount of 1,950 students going to charter school and 72 students going to the school of choice.
Correct.
Can you go over what's the meaning of a school of choice for a lot of people that do not know that you can actually go to another school?
Yes, so I believe, I think it's about 53% of the school districts across the state offer school choice. And if you do accept school choice, that means a student from another municipality or town can attend schools in your district. You know, families are responsible to pay for transportation. For example, if a student in Lawrence wanted to attend Amesbury High School, for example, I believe Amesbury School Choice, they would fill out an application. If Amesbury did decide to accept them, the student's family would need to arrange for transportation, and the Lawrence Public Schools would be responsible for $5,000 payment to the receiving district. So that's basically what school choice is. A lot of our students who do school choice do it online through TECA Online Academy, which means that they study online. It's a Massachusetts public high school, but you know, they can stay in Lawrence and study virtually, and the payment is also $5,000, but it would not involve transportation or anything for the family. And did you mention charter tuition as well?
Number.
Yeah.
Not the-
Yeah, yep. So again, you know, number of students in the city of Lawrence attend our charter schools, Community Day, Family Development, also Phoenix is a regional charter school as well. So there is reimbursement that goes to the charter schools for any student who does live in Lawrence who takes advantage of a charter option.
I'm going over page 8 as well, special education.
Sure. You know, the final state education assessment, special education due to costs for students served in specialized programming. You know, we do pay tuition for students who attend specialized schools outside of the district, for example, Crest or another local school. I believe we have about 8 or 9 students who are attending Crest Collaborative right now. So students like this who the district, through the special education IEP process, decides to place students at specialized programs, we are responsible for paying tuition and transportation costs for those students as well.
How many students we approximately we have?
I believe we have 79 students right now who are out of district, I believe. 79 students who are out of district. And 10 are graduating. I believe that's down from 110 several years ago. So we do try to serve as many of our students within the district as we can. Counselor Rodriguez, obviously, we have, specialized programs within the district. Obviously, if we keep them within the district, we're not responsible for paying out-of-district tuition or transportation to some place that might be 10, 15, 20 miles away. Transportation is very expensive.
And that's gonna be based on the AP.
Correct, and the team process, and what the special education team recommends, based on what the students' needs are.
Councilor De Rosario?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Does every school request their own budget? It's everyone here for every school if we would like to discuss any particular school budget?
Yeah, we have, I don't think we have every principal here, but I think we have at least 20 principals here who can talk about any questions about their budget, if you have questions about them. We fund schools based on the number of students who go to that school. So obviously, if you have a school like the Tar Box with around 280 students, their budget is going to be less than the South Lawrence East Elementary, which has about 680 students. So schools are funded based on per pupil. And then also, if there are any additional needs that those schools have, that would be in the school budget planning process. They would present those needs, and the leadership team would decide whether to, fund an additional specialist or a crisis paraprofessional or something like that for those schools. But if you did have any questions about any specific schools, we'd be glad to answer those right now.
Just to follow up on that question, do you have on the budget the amount of students per schools? I haven't seen that.
Yeah, if you look at the budget book, page 10, for example, Councilor Rodriguez, you'll see that this, on our budget book, page 10, is the Breen School. You'll see how many students were enrolled there in 2021, 22, and this last school year. So you'll see at the Breen School, and for most of our, right at the top here, Counselor, the enrollments for each school. Excuse me? Oh, okay.
And another page 10 after you have the schools.
Oh, it's in the appendix, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize for that, Counselor. So, you will notice that almost all of our schools, the enrollment has increased over the past several years. Obviously, when the pandemic hit, that stopped a lot of immigration and families moving. Our enrollment dipped into the 12,000 number. Obviously, we're around 13,800 right now. So all of our schools have gotten larger over the last couple of years, which means also their budgets are getting larger. When you're thinking that, average, they're getting about $19,000, $20,000 per pupil.
So, a recommendation for next year. Do you mind having an extra sheet that have this information together with the budget next to it? So we can compare and have it all in one school? I
Sure.
mean, I have it all on one sheet per school, so we can
Yep.
look at, amount of students, amount that that school is receiving.
And again, the number of students that's indicated in the 22-23 column is based on the school's enrollment on October 1st. So naturally, all of the schools are going to have more students now, but the funding is based on how many students that we reported they had on October 1st of
So,
last year.
following up on what Councilor Rosario was mentioned, so what is the average per pupil per school? That's the same amount for
Yes.
each school?
Yep, so, we fund based on $19,000, $20,000 per school, then whether, also how many multilingual students there are for possible co-teaching, assignment of ESL staff. Same thing with special education students. We'll take a look at how many special education students we have, so we can assign special education case managers and also co-teachers as well. Then if there are specialized special education programs, like, for example, if it's a medically fragile classroom, additional staff that would probably need more than one adult in the classroom would get additional resources as well.
Fantastic. Councilor Levy?
Thank you, Council President.
Ahora consigo.
Do you know how many students by a school is going to the special education?
Yeah, we do know how many students in each school are classified as special education, and then within that, there's also, numbers of students who go to specialized programs, such as an ILP classroom or a medically fragile classroom. Like, for example, we know at the South Lawrence East Elementary, there's 116 special education students. We run those numbers every 2 weeks as part of our attendance metrics, And then we make sure that we have enough case managers, paraprofessionals, co-teachers assigned to support those students and what their IEPs call for.
Would you be able to provide that information to us?
Yeah, we can give you enrollment for every school and also by gender, by grade level, how many multilingual students who are learning English, and how many special education students. Of course, we can send that to you tonight.
All right. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure you won't be able to do that by gender. It's too many genders. Councilor Rosario.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hear all this, and it's great, but I asked for some paperwork and I never got. I don't know if you have that information. How many consultants do the LPS have? Where are they and what's the salaries?
Our deputy superintendent has some information on, we have all kinds of consultants, Counselor. We have consultants that help us with curriculum and instruction. We have consultants who help us with evaluation.
How many?
We have, consultants who help us with co-teaching. We have consultants who help us, on how to deal with student social emotion.
I understand, Superintendent. How many do we have? And what is the salaries? That's the question. I request that way before the budget, and I always, I don't know if it's me, but I always get a turnaround, or I don't get the paper on time. I never got the information.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking you the question right now. I mean, how many are they? Where are they located? Most of them.
I can't give you an exact number. I would say that there are many, many, many consultants. And again, they, all over the district, in every department. You want to come up? Yep.
Massachusetts?
I'm going to have Maricel and Melissa come up just to give you just a little bit more information. Our deputy superintendent and our assistant superintendent for HR. I would assume that a large majority are, that are based out of Massachusetts, but I'm sure that there are others that are, regional or even, national.
Okay, and through that, I want to throw a follow-up question. I said how many, and if you had all that information, why I never got the information back? I want to know once I get that thing.
Name and address for the record, and just please answer the question that Councilor.
Maricel Goris, Assistant Superintendent for Lawrence Public Schools. I do not have a Lawrence address.
Fine, just say the address of the central office.
Oh,
Central Office, 237 Essex Street.
That's fine.
So if you want to publicly share that you made a public information request around how many consultants does LPS have, that number is very hard to identify because consultants are vendors. Consultants can be vendors and consultants could be paid hourly as emergency hires. It depends on each school and department's budget, how much is allocated, and if the budget is under $1,000, if the budget is over $1,000, under $10,000, and over $10,000. So all those criteria need to be analyzed in order to give you an exact amount of how many consultants are across the Lawrence Public Schools. Consultants could come in person and work individually with teachers by coaching them, or work individual with a department by training individuals in the department. So we have a consultant, for example, a financial consultant, who comes work with our budget and finance to ensure that our budget book is in order for the presentation. That consultant may not live here in Massachusetts, but may live out of state, and they provide that support virtually. So there's an array of different ways that people are consultants. So if there's a specific question about who is providing services to Lawrence Public Schools, how much they get paid an hour, or how much their contract is, then ask the question directly.
Just consultant in general, whatever you consider consultant.
Yeah,
I mean,
so that's gonna take-
I wasn't asking for a particular person or particular department. It was just consultant. If you consider that 1,000 people that you are using are consultant, I think the answer should be, we are using 1,000 consultant and it costs you $2 million.
So
That's all I was looking for.
That's great that you were looking for that answer, but to get that answer, it's gonna take about 3 to 6 months to go through every single vendor to find out which of the vendors have how much, because you could be a vendor for the district in the city of Lawrence, but serve multiple different schools at different amounts. And your services may not be consultant services, they may be products. So then we have to differentiate what's products and what's services. So that's what takes a lot of time. There's just so many of them to go through.
No, I think that Just to follow up on that question, I think that Councilor Rosario is probably looking is more like a percentage of the budget that was spent on consultants.
So there is a,
Maybe an amount of consultants that were able to serve with that amount of money.
so each consultant could be under professional services, they could be under a different type of department code, which requires man-hours and man-time to be able to go through each vendor to figure out what services are being provided by each and through which department code.
Councilor Infante.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I guess to make it easier for everyone, from what I'm hearing, my colleague seems to be upset that he didn't get any answer. I think even an answer like this would have been, where you're stating to us now, would have been efficient, so he'll know, like, he would have at least background information of the time and perhaps not the enough manpower to get the information that he was looking for in the timely manner that he was looking for it. No answer is definitely worse than at least an explanation of this is why, if we get you this is, it'll take long on X, Y, and Z, just like how you're explaining it tonight.
I appreciate the feedback, City Councilor Infante, but we did provide the City Councilor that same answer about how much time it was going to take us and why it was going to take us that much time, but we did provide a list of consultants over $10,000.
And I'm not upset, I'm just asking questions that I thought it would be helpful for the budget, and it would be shorted your time here, we're asking all those questions.
Do you mind forwarding that information to Councilor Rosario and probably share with us?
Which information?
The information that you sent that about the consultant that went over 10,000 that you just mentioned.
Yep, we could forward that email.
So that was a public records request that went out June 2nd on Friday at 4:30 PM.
For the record.
Odanis Hernandez, 13 Pembroke Drive, Lawrence, Massachusetts, Chief Operating Officer for Lawrence Public Schools. The request was made under a public records request, and that response was sent on June 2nd, Friday, at 4:30 PM. In response to your public records request, we didn't have the information you were asking, the vendors or consultants under 10K, but we did provide the consultants that we had that were over 10K, which was an easier number to pull up. We asked you to reach back out to us if you wanted to have a conversation to narrow the scope of your request to see what information we can gather for you and provide.
Quick question on that. You say that it was, that answer was given because it was a public record request. As a counselor, I think that we don't have to go through the public record request law to be able to get information about administration on the public school or any department.
Yeah, sure. However, Councilor De Rosario did request that information as a public records request through your city clerk. So the answer was being provided under the same way he requested it.
No problem. So just in the future, I mean, I think it will be a lot easier for everybody to just, you know. You're gonna have to take this. You might continue with the budget.
Anyway, I have a question.
Councilor Levy.
Thank you. I'm sorry. When you do the budget, do you engage inviting people from the school, do the family or the students? You do that?
Yeah, so the schools have school leadership teams, which involve, of course, the principals, other administrators, teachers, support staff, also families. At least 2 parents are usually on the school leadership teams at the high school, also students. They they assist in, writing the operational plan and creating budget priorities for each school. Yeah, so the answer is definitely yes.
So the community engage in the preparation of the budget?
Yeah, I think, specifically for monies in the Student Opportunities Act, for example, there was a lot of outreach on, what the district should spend, the increase in the Student Opportunities Act money. A lot of that was, families asking for more social, emotional support for their students, which would be guidance counselors, behavior analysts, things like that, school social workers. Also some feedback that they would like additional safety officers, things like that. So obviously, we want to know what the folks at the school and the families are thinking of as priorities when they are in the budget process, building months of December, January, and February, and then presenting to the leadership team what the priorities are for each school.
It is accessible to the Hispanic community? If this is bilingual?
Yeah, of course. Again, like at the high school, for example, when we used to do this, Mr. Carballo, Dr. Reynoso, Ms. Melendez, several other of us here would always have the sessions run in bilingual, English and Spanish, for folks to be able to participate and give their input on what they thought was important for the school.
So at your last public hearing for the budget, how many people, do you know how many people attended?
For the LAE board,
From the community
I
attended?
believe there might have been two people at public participation.
Just only 2? How many students do we have in this school?
I think when we looked this morning, we had 13,633.
On all of the school?
It,
13,000?
across all of our schools,
And just only
13,633.
2 people attended?
The budget
So it
hearing?
doesn't
is
look
correct.
like that, so we are doing the outreach to engage the community or to engage the parent or the student and participate.
I think, when we did our family questionnaire, we had about 6,000 responses from families across the district, which was getting close to 50% of our families. So we had 6,000 responses. I think the exact numbers we can tell you later, but I think 88% of our families felt that we were doing a good or excellent job at communicating with them about what was going on in the school district and things like that. So the results that we're getting from when we ask parents and families, they're telling us that we're doing a good or excellent job involving them in what's going on at their schools. There was also another question about whether they felt they were involved in deciding what services their kids received. And again, it was very similar. 88, 89% of parents either agreed or strongly agreed that they had a direct say in the type of education and the kind of services that their students are receiving at school. So the families that, of those 6,000 families, I think it was 5,500 who were reporting that they felt that they had direct input on the kind of programs and the education that their kids received at school. So from what the families are telling us, the families are saying we're doing a good or an excellent job at that.
Doesn't look like, because we only had 2 parents that participated in the meeting. It doesn't look like that we are touching or getting, the participation of the family.
Yep.
Our
Yeah, no, I understand your point. The metrics that we're getting from the families are saying that they feel that they have strong input on what their kids are receiving at their schools. Maybe they're much more comfortable going to the Gilmet School to talk to their folks there than they are coming at like a central meeting, like we did for the board budget hearing. I'm just telling you what the folks are telling us when we do the questionnaires.
With all my respect, the school need to work a little bit more to engage parents to come and discuss the education of the children. Because right now, it doesn't look like to me at least, because when you have, or you call for a meeting, a community meeting, and just only 2 people from about 14,000 students, 15,000 students that we have, and just only 2 families are coming, it's because they are not getting the,
Yeah. No, I understand your point there. Again, I just think, there's a difference between like if families are meeting at a school to talk about, you know, the type of enrichment or what kind of intramurals they want their kids to do at a school, and then having, you know, a hearing in front of a board is just a different.
When was the last meeting or the last hearing?
It was last month, May 12th.
Council, any other question?
Councilor Infante?
Thank you. I have a comment, not
Thank
a
you.
question. And I'm saying this because I have worked at a school as a former marketing director for GLTS, and I know firsthand how difficult it is to reach families. I know, I mean, I recall we did robocalls, emails, letters, everything. No matter what the avenue we used, it was still difficult. And we used to get the same questions as my colleague is asking you. And so I just want to say, you know, to my colleague, and that it's I'm sure there are other ideas that they're brainstorming or, you know, that they probably haven't thought of yet, but I can tell you the foundation part of communications with families is very tough, no matter how much you do it. And that was actually one of my frustrations when I worked at a school. So
I think, you know, the point is well taken about being accessible in other ways, right? Obviously, all of us had a chance to interact with many families Friday night, right, and get their input at public events and things like that, just being accessible to families, you know, again, whether it's where you're shopping, you know, when you go to church, things like that, always having time to answer any type of questions that they have, or any input that they want to give you, you know, whether it's within the 9 to 5 workday or outside that.
I think that just do a quick when we do those massive events that we bring parents over, I think that somehow we need to start engaging with parents. And also, I think it will be important to, as I mentioned to you in a meeting, to be able to have schools that are open for parents' activities, and therefore we provide all their activities, secondary activities for the kids, so they can get engaged into the school and get to know the school and not just going to school when there's graduation or things like that. So getting to, you know, open the school up for them to see, probably that would be an idea. That's just an idea that parents' engagement probably more effective. Councilor de Rosario.
Take it through you. Comment first, and then I'll ask a question. As an elected official, I know I don't have to use access records as a public record request, but with my past experience, so I wanted to make sure that I got the answer, which I got it. I got the answer Friday at 4:30 p.m. And then if I needed questions, who I would have contacted over the weekend. But that's fine, that's my comment on that. How was the open house for hiring safety officers? What was the turnout? If you have a numbers, how many actually were hired or interviewed in that open house?
And is that related to the budget or to staffing or?
That's related to staffing, budget, that includes, I mean, if you're hiring, you gotta pay money, and that's part of the budget and all that stuff. It's involving money. Hiring people, paying people, involve money.
I mean, when we have the budget discussions, we like to go over a lot of things. It could be anything.
I think, you know, our, on page 7, 077, school safety, our budget has increased about $100,000 for next year, Councilor Rosario. I was at the high school portion of the open house, so I don't have exactly the numbers on those, but we can definitely get those to you about how many folks were interviewed, how many vacancies we have. And we could probably get you for that, for multiple different job classifications, not just for safety
I think that
officers.
Councilor Rosario is referring to the one that you guys just did a few months ago at NECO, right?
Was the last time they were here, they were all
We
excited?
we had one on a Saturday, one portion at the South Lawrence East and one portion at the high school.
So it's been a couple of months after that, and you don't have the numbers, so how many you hired on the thing? Okay.
You want interviews and also how many folks that were hired?
No, I thought, I mean, just, but if you don't have it now, because I mean, we want to compare how many actually safety officers do you have as now hired to compare the salaries or the increases going on in there, but I mean, after we get out of here, I mean, it's again, it's a delayed response. Thank
Councilor, go ahead.
Maricel Goris, Assistant Superintendent. Oh, okay. So we held the hiring fair April 1st for current openings and openings for school year 23-24. And at that time, I believe we had 7 safety officer positions open. We were able to fill 3, and then we had 3 more safety officers leave for other positions with the police department and with the fire department. So now we have an additional 3 to look for. So the truth of the matter is that the safety officers provide a great service to the Lawrence Public Schools. It's an entry-level position for many folks that want to have careers in civil service, especially in law enforcement or the fire department or other types of services that the city offers. It's a great opportunity for them to, number one, understand what it takes to work in a school building, understand safety expectations, but also understand how to really engage with the public in a way that is partnering with them and not kind of escalating situations, but de-escalating situations. So these are not salaries, lifetime salaries. These are not career salaries. These are entry-level salaries. And so if you have questions about the increases, you can look at the contract, which is available online, and you could see what the hourly rate is and how many years of service it takes for each person to get the hourly rate that they are either currently earning or will earn in the future, along with their increases, which is about anywhere from 2.5 to 3%, up to 4.5% increase, depending on the step that they move to.
Just to follow up on that, but I think that's the main problem as of why we don't have safety officers that are career driven on that area, because the salary is not desirable. I believe that we went to $18 an hour now. So for the amount of work and the responsibilities that they have and the passion that they put into the work, if we wanted to guarantee that for a long time and provide them with, provide the students with an experienced safety officer, I think that we need to make that as a career living, perhaps increasing the salary.
There's other career opportunities within Lawrence Public Schools that a safety officer can rise to or look to support. So there's school career culture specialists, there are family engagement specialists, there are parent liaison positions. There's other roles across the district that a school safety officers can continue.
Councilor Infante.
Thank you, Chair. I'm hearing, I understand that typically the safety officer position is an entry-level position, but I can tell you this is a question or issue that was brought up in one of the schools in my district regarding a safety officer that I did bring up to the administration. The safety officer loves their job, loves helping the school in that capacity. However, the pay was low. And I did bring this up. So my question is, what are we doing for those that are content with doing what they're doing? They're not looking for a career or whatever, but they have a stable job that just happens to not pay enough. What are we doing to help them? Because all I'm hearing is, you know, there's another opportunity, but what are we doing for the ones that are not looking for an opportunity and they're okay with being safety officers?
So what is your recommendation? Because we have a collective bargaining agreement that tells them what the opportunities are.
That is why I'm asking you. I don't do this job every day. So you guys are the ones that look at the numbers. You guys are the ones who hear the concerns. Like, I'm not the expert in here. I'm bringing you an issue that I have brought up before. And the answer that I get is we're going to look into it. And
That hasn't been the answer. We've always provided an answer, Councilor Infante. I'm just letting you know that many folks, because just like paraprofessionals end up becoming teachers, it's a career development. And many of the safety officers look at that as an entry because they want to become law enforcement or fire department. And that service counts towards their years and it counts towards their pay when they move to those places. So they do get something out of it.
So again, what are we doing to help those that are not looking to go into law enforcement or the fire department, whatever, that are okay with their job, that have passion? Because this individual that I spoke to has a lot of passion for their job. They don't want to leave LPS. They like doing the safety guard position. So again, what I'm hearing is, well, the next move. No, what are we doing to retain or maintain the people that we have now?
When did they come to agreement on their contract? I think relatively recently, like less than a year ago, is that correct?
Yes, so their contract ends 2024.
Thank you.
So please feel free to bring your thoughts and ideas on what you believe would be a retention strategy. But just understand, as a city councilor looking over a budget, that if you give a significant amount of increase to someone who wants to be a safety officer as a profession for the rest of their life, you have to give that same percentage of increase or something likely to the rest of the collective bargaining agreements and the impact that that has on the budget.
Correct. And with that being said, we've had situations with LPS where there've been rallies, there've been protests, because what we do is we push off salary or pay increases for years and years and years when these issues or questions are being brought up. And then ultimately the end result is our employees get aggravated, they get upset, some of them can't afford, even their rent. And then we see the protest that has happened throughout the year or two that I've been a city councilor. So that is why as councilors, we are here bringing up concerns and questions so that things like that don't happen, because they're avoidable. I understand the budget and I understand resources are limited, but if we're bringing something up, it's worth looking into instead of trying to run in circles or beat around the bush.
I apologize if you believe that that's my tactic. It's definitely not. I support the safety officers. They're directly under my supervision, and I try my best to make sure that they have opportunities available to them, but I am restricted by the contract that's already been signed. So I was just asking if you have some feedback before we start going into contract negotiations about what you believe to be a career salary for a safety officer, let us know, but also understand the impact of that. And the protests that have happened recently are not anywhere different from other districts that happen the same way. We all are in this together. There have been huge economic ramifications across the nation regarding rents, regarding salaries, and there's a time for reckoning. And I tell you that I come to the negotiation table expecting for our people to be well represented and well paid.
And I believe, I don't believe we have any group that does not have a approved collective bargaining agreement, correct?
No. We settled 11 contracts this past year, and all of them gained significant increases, far better increases than they've ever had in the previous administrations.
But throughout the years, we have safety officers there that I can name some that been there for the longest. My youngest daughter actually went to the Hennessy School. There's one there that's to me is one of the greatest that you guys have. And retention, to retain people also, it means this is an idea, promotions. Some of them, they've been there for years, they tried to be promoted, they did whatever they did, and they don't get it. They don't get the promotions. They don't get the next step. Like my colleague said, that they want to stay there, but they need to be, recognized, or you've been here for 20 years, you maybe earn it. And when they at that stage to earn it, according to them and the information we have, somehow they don't get it. And that's part of the retention programs. And every company and every institution, if you don't allow your employee to grow with you, they're going to go somewhere else. If you don't allow, if you don't let them to get promotions, they're going to go somewhere else, regardless if they don't want to go. Yep. And that's also something that is happening. We can claim the bargain agreement, we can claim whatever the money is or the issue or what that's going to bring. But it's also a situation that it's in there as administrators or you guys administrators that has been overlooked. Go back to those guys that's been there 15, 12, 10 years, and why are they staying in the same position and they haven't been offered even a promotion? Or when they apply for the promotion, why they never got it?
I think,
you know?
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Counselor Drew, sorry, but, you know, out of our almost 2,500 positions across the district, only 40 of those are safety officers, so there are a limited number of supervisory, you know, positions within the safety officer, just because, you know, most of our positions, 56% of our positions are teacher positions, right? Over 1,400. So we have over 1,400 teachers, we have almost 500 paraprofessionals, we only have, you know, 40 safety officers. So, you know, promotion within such a small group is limited, which is why Assistant Superintendent Gora said that a number of them do move on to be school culture specialists, guidance counselors, you know, things like that. And also move on, as she said, to civil service positions within the city and other departments.
Just to follow up on that, but as you can see, $260 million budget discussion goes into 40 positions is because for a reason. And part of the reason is because a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we have a huge issue in terms of safety in our high school. And now it was a lot of fight. Once we start investing funds, investing money, and looking at the situation in a different way, which I highly appreciate that we did that, to a point that we have a meeting that you guys were here a year and a half ago, or that was virtual, right?
Yes, the one last year was
Yeah.
virtual, and the meeting this year was.
You guys present a number that, based on actual facts, that those safety concerns reduced tremendously. There is one specific point, one specific situation that we haven't improved, because at that point, the safety officers making a living barely. So now we have 40 safety officers. That still salary is not as good, but we know that for sure that if that position is not there, any school can get out of control. That's at the high school level. But when it comes to different schools at the different neighborhoods, those safety officers, perhaps I always gonna speak highly about the safety officer within my district, that they look at that person as a father figure. And that person know every student by name, they respect him, they actually do things like, it's great, it's like something that it's amazing. And that's something that we need to reproduce throughout different schools throughout the neighborhoods. And at the Lawrence High School, it's like, you know, we're there, but I think that if we add more, we'll be better off.
Yeah,
That's
obviously,
in general.
the reason why we have the K-8 complexes is so that students and families, community members can make good relationships with the schools, right? Obviously, if you're at the Arlington School, or the Gilmet School, or the Partham, and you have the same safety officer for 5, 6, 7 years in a row, right? You know, the relationship is much deeper than, you know, when you go to the high school as a 14-year-old and you're meeting a new safety officer that you haven't known since kindergarten, et cetera. You know, so the dynamic is definitely different. But again, that is the rationale behind, you know, having the larger complexes, the K-8s, whether it's the Weatherby, Frost, et cetera, those schools, so that the kids can get used to all the folks who work in that building, and that there's personal relationships, right? And like you said, you know, relationships matter. And obviously, you know, the first couple months at the high school, everybody has to work extra hard because they're trying to develop relationships with kids, get to know, you know, who's, you know, this kid, oh, I had his older brother or his sister, or maybe they live a couple blocks down the street from me, et cetera, things like that, so.
Councilor Levy?
Thank you, Chair. Look at the budget.
Yep.
So we are increase of 23,149,987. But when it comes to this budget, there is a pay that makes them, you know, how much is the salary?
So
How
you,
much is-
so you'd like,
How much is a teacher? Maybe it is a teacher that's a first grade or third grade or whatever, I don't know how it is.
yeah, entry level, entry
Yeah,
level. salary.
exactly. I don't have any entry label, so how much is the salary of each one that I can say? If this salary or this proposal salary is being distributed, on the way that it should be.
So each of the salaries for our employees are based on the collective bargaining agreements?
It doesn't matter. So everybody in here, in this book, had a different position. Doesn't matter that it's a collective bargaining, it doesn't matter that it's, a position is a non-union, it's a union, but it's telling me, how much do we pay to each person.
So you want to know every person, individual person's salary?
Exactly,
Okay.
please.
So, I think that it's more than that. Back in 2000, when I joined the school committee, 2013, during that fiscal year, we have the same format budget in the city. Take a look at that, because that was a great, there was a discussion the previous year, and I know that Superintendent Receiver Riley, he actually took that into consideration and adopt the school budget to reflect the same characteristic of the city budget, look the same basically. So take a look at it. I was back then, so probably
Yep.
under that format, it will be helpful. Over years, it got changed a little bit, and then we got to that point.
Yeah, we were just
That
following the
that doesn't mean that
previous
it's
year.
bad. It means the
We were
difference.
following the previous year's format, so thank you, Anna, for that question.
So we could give you that, it's going to be a long document because there's almost 2,500 employees, but we could break it down by school if that's helpful to you, or department, or by
Exactly.
union. Could say, these are all of our teachers with their salaries, these are all of our paras, these are all our CAF workers with salary. You could,
Yeah, that we should know, depending the labor of the person, where it is, the teacher,
job tight.
the safety,
title, so- Okay.
security, everyone. So how many employees you have, like it's in that labor, it's getting the pay. So at the end, that we have like the full amount or whatever it is, the proposal salary in here.
I think you want you want to know which people's names with the title, where they work, and
And the
what their
annual
salary,
salary.
right? Or just titles?
I wouldn't
No,
say
no, no.
names, just positions, salary.
We don't need names. We don't need the name.
Okay.
But that wouldn't be the same salary.
What the salary is. for
We could
each
do
of
average
these
salary.
positions.
Yeah, we could.
Is average salary okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, an hour.
No average salary.
Okay, so
Okay.
he's saying something different.
No average salary.
All right.
What we don't need is name. We don't need name. So we have 5 teacher and label 1, and that's 5 teacher, he got an amount or whatever the amount.
Mayor's recommendation, so,
Oh, okay.
and so if
Oh,
there's
okay.
2 sign
All right.
makers, we have each in broken.
And we could do that like
To a
Arlington
91,000,
School,
right,
52
exactly.
teachers.
So that's the same thing.
It's gonna be a long book.
Yeah. It's still going to be, it's a lot of.
I would just edit that, the schedule, and just add the amounts,
It would be a long
the
book.
salaries in there.
I will
We'll
look at
have Ario work with them.
So that salary, we're gonna show the amount that we already mentioned right now. So whatever that's, whatever the teacher, that's administration, and everyone is being, so that is what I would like to see.
Quick question on the budget. Line item 45. That's on page 7. Yeah, 45.
Yep, community engagement. correct.
So just define it from, like, we don't know nothing about it. What is it?
Yeah, community engagement would be, would be staffers who work in the Family Resource Center, who are called Family Engagement Specialists, take phone calls from families who need guidance on enrollment maybe, or need guidance on if they move to a different part of the city, and can their kids stay at the Partham School if they move to a different part of the city. Also with families who might have a disagreement with the school, so that they can talk to the Family Engagement Office about what's going on. Also, many of the schools have family engagement specialists as well, to communicate directly with families about attendance, about IEP meetings, about scheduling school events, things like that. So all of those things would be.
Attendance officers.
Attendance officers as well. We have 4 attendance officers who work with families on helping kids get to school. All those things would count under family.
It's an easy question for you because you were in that department
Yeah,
before.
Yep,
When you started defining it, that's what I noticed.
yep. So, yeah, so I
I
mean.
thought that the community engagement was gonna be more like a community engagement, like how the school engage with the community. So that's why I asked you to define it, because I don't know what's the meaning of it on this budget. But now I know exactly, what is this about? All right, and also, can you go through, 47? I see that, last year, it was $0 for arts, music, and theater, and this year we have a 574,000.
Yeah. So again, for 0 of last year doesn't mean that we didn't spend any money. That's how much was put in the budget at this time last year. We spent way more than that. We probably spent close to $500,000 on art, music, and theater, on productions, on our district staff. This year, we took a look at what we spent, for next year's projection, we took a look at what we spent this year and put it in for what we expect to spend next year. So, you know, the 0 there doesn't indicate that we didn't spend. Obviously, we have a ton of arts, theaters, music, things like that, dance going on. It just was not put in the budget last year for whatever reason, and we wanted to give an accurate prediction of what we're gonna spend this year, so.
I know that you guys have done a tremendous amount of work on that. Even a trip to Orlando, I think you guys did. I'm aware of things.
Also, we carried a lot of the arts, theater, music expenses under curriculum and instruction and under the title grants. So that's why it didn't look in that budget. But based on what was spent in those departments, we allocated the right things so we can delineate what we're spending on arts, music, and theater.
You said title,
Title, like title monies,
okay,
Title IV, which is like enrichment and support.
Title 4?
Title IV for students,
Okay, thank you.
direct services for students.
Within the budget, I also read in a specific line that says that the city of Lawrence invests 1 nickel per student based on the amount of students we have.
What?
It's on there. On the budget, you said somewhere, I was looking for it, that the city of Lawrence invests, the city of Lawrence, not tax dollars money, it was 1 nickel per student.
No.
I mean, I just couldn't find
Yeah,
it,
it's,
so we can
so
discuss it.
95% of the school department budget comes from Chapter 70 or SOA. So, you know, out of every dollar of money in the school department budget, 95 cents comes from state aid, Chapter 70 or SOA, and 5 cents comes from local contribution of the city. Of every dollar.
Everybody.
So
yeah,
like,
of
if we
course.
multiply that dollar times 19, we'd have to multiply
Of course, no,
19,000,
no, I got you.
yeah.
Just want to make sure
I
that
should
we
be able to do
mention
the
that.
quick math on that, but.
I always look at it as a 5%. I never put it in
Yeah, no,
perspective
exactly,
of
5%.
What's the meaning
Yep,
of it?
Yep.
All right. I have another question as well. Last year, no, I don't want to go there yet, but I mean, what is the graduation rate at this point at the Lawrence Public Schools?
I don't think we've calculated the graduation rate yet for this year. I'm not sure.
Riley's stocks were always around graduation rate and drop-off rate. So,
Hello, councilors. Victor Caraballo Anderson, the head of schools for the campus. So when it comes to graduation rate for this year, we're looking closely at 91%. So last year was about
9% meaning drop-off rate, or it was because they stay behind it, or they stay in the school?
No. 91% overall graduation rate. And then for the other 9% is that they haven't just completed their full experience at the high school. So
Means?
they need additional years
stay
in order for
behind.
them to be able to fulfill all the high school requirements.
Or summer, some of them might finish during the summer as well.
So this year, for example, graduation, we had 687. We have about 130. They'll be graduating in the month of August. We're going to have over 800 graduates.
So what is the drop-off rate?
Right now, we're looking at 1.2%.
An accurate number?
Yes. The final reporting will be provided to DESE in October. So that's the current that we have now. So what I do is I meet with the team on a bi-monthly basis in order for us to do that calculation. But the final report goes into DESE in October for that report. And so then it becomes a official report that the state then releases.
What is the plan that we have on the city of Lawrence, at the Lawrence Public Schools, to retain the students and reduce the drop-off rate? And perhaps what is the follow-up when we know that a specific student have it drop the schools?
Yeah, for a lot of students, one of the things that we're doing right now is really investing in alternative education supports. So part of it is really being flexible in terms of the hours, really ensuring that there's consistent follow-up when it comes to re-engagement. And so the idea is once a student drops out, we have personnel that calls the student. If the students don't respond, they pay a visit to the student. If we can't find them, we talk to the neighbors. We do an intensive search around the city. Let's just say it's a full community effort when it comes to re-engagement, and it has really worked well in terms of maintaining the students in our rosters.
I know that there is other programs that are available in the city of Lawrence for them to finish their the high school diploma, but that's something that we don't want the drop-off rate to increase, because that's a significant impact to the community. So my follow-up question on that, how many students do we have last year at the Lawrence High School
So enrollment.
that were ready to graduate?
So when it comes to graduation last year, I believe we had about 714.
688 graduated, about that, 600 something, right?
A little bit more, about 690.
But that 714 included summer graduates last year as
Yeah.
well.
And my question comes because, I mean, last year, I remember that it was on the 700, so last year. So that's gonna depend on the amount of students we have, and if the drop-off rate is increasing, and then we have an issue. So I didn't know the amount of total students that were ready to graduate, but if it is in the 714, that means that it was a lot less than what we have last year.
Yeah, so I mean, within the last 3 years, we have seen a decrease from about 4% to about 1% in terms of dropout rates. Right now, we're actually faring better than the state.
And that's because of why?
So we have built, again, a comprehensive team, and part of it is, the idea, we have recruited a lot of people who are from the community, who understand our students, who understand the task at hand, and we have ensured that we have very clear protocols in terms of how we go about re-engagement in order for us to support these students. The other idea, too, is we're very clear to students in terms of, what supports are going to look like and the follow-up. So one thing is to re-engage students, but once they are re-engaged, to maintain them at the level in which they're going to be able to perform and actually graduate.
I would add transparency on what the expectations are, so they have a clear plan, so they understand exactly what's necessary and what that timeline looks like. When you're not realistic with the timeline, then they can get easily demotivated. So to keep them motivated, we have very transparent conversations with the family and the student, what the supports are gonna look like, and then there's constant follow-up. An engagement specialist is constantly making sure that the student is engaged and staying on track.
All right, something that I have keep on hearing, not recently, it was back then for years, is that the standards, our standards are lower when it comes to graduation in the city of Lawrence. So when they go up there to compete, they find a real situation. I find that hard to believe sometimes, but I mean, I just need to ask that question.
Sure, I think it's a great question. So when it comes down to it, as a school, currently we have about 1,100 students enrolled in AP courses. About close to more than 900 actually took the AP exam. And so what that means is that our students on a daily basis, they're having access to college-level curriculum. And so we are ensuring that you're not only graduating with a diploma, but that you actually have the skill set in order for you to be able to perform at the college level. In addition, we have also increased our numbers for early college. We went from 3 years ago, 150, to right now, overall, combined, we're looking at close to 600 kids who are taking advantage of the early college program. So for our students, the experience looks like this. You're taking 1 or 2 AP courses in addition to 1 or 2 courses at the college level. And so the vast majority of our students' schedule is pretty much college prep courses, which is great for us in terms of really preparing students. So by the time they graduate, when it comes to credits and options, it's the idea of obtaining a higher education is a lot more viable because it's a lot more affordable as well, which is a reality for a lot of students that, you know, when it comes to college and just having access to college, the financial component of it is at the front and center.
I think 80% of the 11th and 12th graders at Abbott Lawrence, 80% of the 11th and 12th graders at Abbott Lawrence, for example, are taking college courses at Merrimack. So
80% of
80%
Abbott students?
of the Abbott 11th and 12th graders are taking a college course.
Councilor Infante?
Do you have the, thank you, Chair. Do you have the percentage for the students that aren't in that academy? Like,
Dr. Reynoso can give you some numbers on upper school, early college, which is primarily with Northern Essex, but there are 4 or 5 upper school students who take Merrimack classes, and then a lot of students who are also taking AP are also in the upper school.
What am I giving them? The
Just an update on early college in the upper school.
So right now, we currently have over 150 that are there, and, I'm sorry, Edward Reynoso, principal at the Upper School Academy, Lawrence High School. So, to Victor's point, we have a large number of group of students that are early college or AP track, or both. Some of them take 2 classes at our school, AP English, AP History, Science, and then go on to NECO and take 1 or 2 classes each semester. Sometimes if they do 2, it's 4 a semester, so they can graduate in the 5th year program with an associate's degree.
Also, I think, advanced programming just doesn't mean early college. I think there's like 90 students who are in the After Dark program with Greater Lawrence Tech,
Yes.
who are taking automotive, HVAC, advanced manufacturing. So although that's not a college course or an AP course, that's still rigorous coursework for VOTEC, and they get a
Yeah.
certificate. A bunch of them got their kind of like dual diplomas with Lawrence High School and Greater Lawrence
Yeah,
Tech.
as
So-
part of our career track for those students who have identified that immediately after high school are not ready to pursue a college degree, but at the same time, we're still keeping the rigor so that if they do choose to go, they can do both at the same time.
Infante, you have the floor.
thank you. Before I asked, you reminded me of something that I forgot and I meant to bring up, but speaking about the After Dark program, you just reminded me again. But before I get into that, I was on the school committee when we voted to do the pilot program for the After Dark, and I am very proud of that program. Greater Lawrence Tech was the first in the state to do it, and now other schools are following the guidance of the school. But recently, I was told that there are instructors at GLTS that are becoming like unmotivated with this program because the students that they're receiving, the feedback that they're getting is that, oh, we're doing this because we start school late. How often do you survey the students, not only your students, but how often do you communicate with the instructors at GLTS? Like, what are you getting real feedback? And I know sometimes they can fluff or, but what are you doing to get real feedback on the success of this program? Because we're
One
just,
of Ed's assistant principals is direct communication with GLTS
Yeah, they
Fairly
have,
twice or 3 times weekly, I think.
and they have a standing meeting every Friday to discuss students, student motivation, attendance, grades. Students do get surveyed in 10th grade, and then that's when they decide which track they want to go into. And we have a school culture specialist that was hired to work, to come in with the students and go to the vocational school and stay with them till 5 o'clock. So there's support at the high school, LHS, and also at GLTS. So we have the support in place, and we are in constant communication with the staff there.
And a lot of the GLTS students end up coming to school at 8 o'clock at Lawrence High School anyways, even though they could start at 11.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good data for the city council to get, out of those 88 students, how many of those
Yeah.
students report at 8 o'clock, how many of them report at 11?
Yeah.
Because I would say the vast majority that I know are there
coming
at
in at
8
8.
o'clock.
Yes.
But we could get you hard numbers just so it's not an anecdote.
So, thank you, yes. So perhaps, maybe perhaps you guys can figure out a way to have a more intimate conversation with these instructors, because I do know one is considering whether or not to teach the After Dark program next year because of the lack of motivation.
That's good feedback.
So, thank you.
So, just a follow-up on that, do you have any specific school that you send the students to? From, to the Apple Dark program, or just any student that would like to take advantage of that program?
It's mostly students in the upper school, and there are a few high school learning center students who also participate. I'm not sure if there are any international students who participate, but most of them are from the upper school or the high school learning center.
I can just add to that too. When it comes to the international school, recently we just went to the school, about 13 students just got accepted to the program as of yesterday. So about 13 students just got accepted to the program from INT, the international school.
Councilor Rosario?
Thank you, through you. I'm going to go a little back. I'm going to go to proposal almost $500,000 in art, correct? And the budget. $500,000 for art. How about athletics? I want to know how much are we proposing for athletics? Again, I've been looking for it, but
Yeah, my friend, Mr. Finn, come up and help me with this question. Obviously, we have a strong athletic program at the high school, and also a strong intramural program as well for our younger students. I don't know, Tim, if you have any comment as far as the athletic program and overall outlays for athletics.
So Tim Finn, I'm the assistant head of school at the high school. Our athletic program at the high school is about $500,000. Our intramural budget is about $200,000. That serves all the schools, middle schools throughout the district. High school, member of Merrimack Valley Conference, Division I school.
Can you go back when you say the 200? I couldn't get it. You say the $500,000 for the high school and then 200 for?
Our intramural middle school program.
that's okay. I just wanted to know what was invested on athletics. So it's about the same amount in art, close to 200.
I have a question, a couple of line items. So 5300, that's professional services. That went down from $2.5 million to $3 million. How we be able to do those adjustments so like drastic? Like, what was the reason behind it?
Yeah, I think if you look at most of the schools have an increase in variance, there's a big decrease there. We're pushing out the money to the schools so that they can use it in direct service to students. You know, we can give you an exact breakdown of where the 2.9 million is going this year versus where the over 12 million went last year. But again, what we're trying to do is to push the money to the schools so they can use the money to best serve the students that are in their buildings and not hold it centrally.
So that $12 million, essentially, that was central office thing that you guys distributed, or that was?
Again, we're trying to push the services down to the school level, so like,
I mean last year, with the 12 million from 2023. And now we have only $3 million.
I think we're just trying, again, to be accurate with what we're spending. If you look at 2 years ago, it was $3 million, right? Then it went up to 12 million. Now it's going back down to about 3 million. So we're trying to be accurate. I think last year, we overestimated the amount we were gonna spend at the central office level on what we could do with monies. So I think we're trying to put the monies back at the school level, so that the principals, the teachers, and the families can decide, you know, what's
And
the best way to
essentially,
spend that.
I'm gonna go back 10 years ago when I was part of the school committee. That was the same approach. The approach was to decentralize the Lawrence Public Schools. So taking money away from central office, putting it back to schools, so the school can do whatever they need to do at the school level. And seeing this is like, it is good, but it's also scary because we're changing direction very often. In a course of 3 years, we went back from one way of doing things, and then going back to another way, and then going back to now, to what it was 10 years ago. It's like, consistency is the key to success. I mean, on anything, even though if it's wrong.
No, I agree
if
with you.
you
that,
keep
we want to be consistent and stable in the next year to support the schools, and also as the superintendent search starts in the fall, so that we hand off the school department in good shape to the next superintendent. But I agree with you. Being consistent with our philosophy of education, I think, and the way we're allocating funds is definitely the way to go.
In the school. That's the only document that can tell you. I'm assuming that we.
Yeah, it went down a bit. As we said earlier, the students that we have placed out of district has gone down from about 110 down to about 79 students. So as we have to pay less tuition outside the district, that's why that line has gone down from over 8 million, almost 9 million, down to a little bit less than 6 million.
So the line item 5774, I know that you probably don't have much control on that, but I mean, it went up $20 million in 2 years. So that's something that is not sustainable over years. I mean, what is the plan that we have with that line item, which is the health insurance? I went over $20 million in 2 years.
Yeah, again, health insurance, you know, the amount we pay in health insurance, again, is dictated by the collective bargaining agreements that we have with all of our groups, right? And there's been significant inflation in health costs over the last couple of years. I agree with you, it's concerning, though.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but I mean, the city of Lawrence and overall, I mean, not mine, but I mean, the GIC, the GIC health insurance for the city of Lawrence, it went up about 500,000, if I remember correctly, every year consistently. Out here we have 20 millions in 2 years. I mean, and just this year it went up $6 million.
And again, like we stated earlier, most of our bargaining units, we did come to new agreements with them recently. And, you know, our health insurance costs are dictated by the agreements that we have with our employee groups.
I think that's concerning. We should
No, it's,
discuss
you know, all the inflation is very concerning. The same thing with our electricity. Our electricity,
Yeah, that was another thing that I was
if
gonna
you look
bring
at 5214, you know, our budgeted amount for electricity last year, again, that was not how much we actually spent, but we budgeted less than $2 million last year for electricity. This year, we feel an accurate projection is more than $4 million. And also on 5211 on heating fuel, we budgeted a little bit less than $1 million last year, and we're almost at $2 million this year. And again, electricity and heating costs have also been, you know, directly impacted by inflation.
Is that something that you guys are looking at? Perhaps having $4 million proposed budget for electricity. Can we look at the long run to see if we actually invest on other type of energy? Perhaps solar panels and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, that would also incur more costs, you know, to upgrade for different types of energy. But I think, obviously, long-term, everybody's looking for more renewable type energies that would be less impacted by inflation, and also any type of energy efficiency that we do, like, for example, we'll be replacing windows at a few of our schools over the summer, so we want to make sure that, you know, what we're using is going to impact, you know, the amount of air conditioning and heating that we use in those buildings as well.
Councilors, any questions?
I have a comment.
Sure, Councilor Infante.
Thank you. When you start looking into renewable energy options and stuff of that sort, Superintendent, I do know that at the federal level, there are some grants coming in. They're doing a major investment in a greener community, so it's something to keep an eye out.
No,
for whoever
definitely.
does
We've
your
had,
grants.
you know, we've had a lot of conversations with Anil, you know, on the city side about how to apply for grants together, because again, these cost increases are very concerning.
When it comes to different schools, councilors, do we have any questions on that? Councilor Rosario.
Thank you, through you. Question in general, I had a couple emails a few months ago that I disregard, and yesterday, no, on Friday, when I was at the graduation, I was so happy to see one of the special students actually being graduated in a wheelchair. But talking to his mother, I will reserve the name, talking to his mother, she stated that she went through so much with the transportation department. Is that an issue that has been managed? Did we manage that? And this is a question, why is it so hard to keep a transportation manager on site or in that department? According to the mother, it's been three, according to her statement, and I do have the email, 3 or 4 transportation managers in the past 2 or 3 years, according to her, and she said it was concerning due to the fact that the transportation schedule stuff, I mean, it kind of changed, which it was hard for her to keep up, and when she asked, it was that, according to her, that there was no transportation manager. So we were struggling in that department.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously, transportation is a major cost, first of all. You know, we want to hear from all of our families on any type of transportation issues. We've worked with NRT on doing joint training for their drivers and their bus monitors, especially for our special education students, just to make sure that they have the proper training. You know, we always want families to reach out to us directly if they're having issues with transportation, because this is something that I hear, too, from folks about, like, oh, there's a chronic bus tardiness issue or things like that. And, like, we look for, like, specific cases so we can contact the families directly to see, okay, we'll look at the GPS, because all of our buses have GPS. Like, your pickup time is 7:05. Let's check the GPS to make sure that the student is being picked up at 7:05. You know, there is a transportation email that we have specifically, there's one for the superintendent's office, and there's another one specifically for the transportation department, where folks can email the transportation department. We are still in the process of looking for a transportation manager. We have a couple folks who are interested in the position right now, and hopefully be able to get them on, you know, for the summer. I would just say, you know, our hiring struggles are just similar to everyone else's hiring struggles, but, you know, again, we want folks in all of our departments so that people can get in contact with whoever they need help with. Obviously, if they reach out to our office, you know, we'll get them a direct answer on that as well.
And follow with that up, I mean, I don't know if you know, I mean, my first CDL driver's license, I got it for NIT, and I still hold that. And when I got that email, I contacted NRT, trying to find out, and they say, again, LPS is not consistent on a transportation manager, and that's why we have issues, Greg. Take it up with them. I mean, we're waiting on the transportation manager, whoever's running the transportation for the LPS, to give us instructions or things, and that's why we hold on it. Once again, it's so hard to keep a transportation manager on, and is it true that in the past 2 or 3 years, there's been 2 or 3 of them? Once again,
yeah.
we're going into retention.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you know, we hired one, I believe, in the fall of 2021. We began another search, I believe, in the spring. You know, we have another search going on now. We recently made an offer to a candidate for the manager position, and, you know, they declined, so we're gonna continue until we find someone, you know, who's bilingual, who has experience in the community, ideally someone who is from Lawrence, someone who's comfortable, you know, going out, driving to a bus stop, checking in with folks at a bus stop. If there is like a small fender bender, that they can go out to the accident location and check in with the driver and the students, things like that. So we feel like, you know, we feel like we're offering a competitive salary, you know, for that position. And it's, like you said, it's a very important position. Obviously, a lot of it involves paperwork and invoicing and things like that, but it also does involve very important work about, you know, getting kids who need specialized transportation to school.
Thank you.
Councilor Levy.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have a question regarding item 0043. So it's getting again to special education. So why decrease on 10,404,162? Why
So,
that decrease? It's a very important amount.
Yeah, and again, if you check the, if you check on the previous page, right, from 01 Arlington Elementary all the way down to, you know, the Rollins and the Frost Middle, you'll see that all the schools got sizable increases, right? And some of the centralized positions for special education that were under central office, for example, like we had 20 counseling positions, I believe, that were under central office. We've decided to push those positions again out to the school. So that doesn't mean that we're reducing spending on special education by 10 million. It just means that we're moving those positions from a central office location to work directly with the students at schools. Could be a counselor, could be a special education teacher, could be a crisis paraprofessional. And again, those positions, instead of holding them centrally and assigning people to work with schools, we have the schools and stabilization teams right at the school level to work with the kids.
That's one of the reasons why I want to see everything, you know, like by a school, by administration. So where is whatever is the person, because right now, that is like, I see like a $10 million or $10.5 million, you know. Decrease on the special education is very flag red right now when somebody see that. So that's why it's important that we can have the description by a school, by department, so the salary and how these people are, like you said, now you centralize those people in the administration. That's what you say, that you brought it?
Yeah, they were under
Yes.
they were located in the last couple years' budget plans. They were located centrally in the Office of Special Education right next door, and that's where the, you know, those 20 positions were located. Now those positions have been moved out to the schools so they can serve the kids directly.
When we say move out to the schools, so when we got the money from the Student Opportunity Act, the majority of the things that parents and community members wanted was more positions for social emotional support. So when the state gave us the money, we put it into special education department budget, but the money was going to be spent at the school. The positions were going to live at the school. So instead of the position living under the department and working out of the school, we just moved the position to where the actual person is in the location. So if we received $10 million and those were 25 social workers and 20 behavioral BCBAs, then we reallocated them to be at the school site, not through the department. So that special ed department is not managing the individuals, the school principals are managing their staff in the building, and the funding goes directly to the school department location, the school location budget versus the special ed department budget.
But do you understand why my question is coming, no?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why I'm just giving you the answer. So
Yeah,
you
no,
understand.
I understand what
Yeah, no, 'cause
you
it
both
does
are
look like a
explaining,
grasp.
but I get, you know, some red flag because we're talking about special education right now.
Absolutely.
And I see the decrease from like a $10.5 million, you know, from the last year. So practically during the last couple of years, you have a 16, 18 19. So now it's like a half of what we have in 2021. Just
Right.
half, you know.
Right.
That's why it caught the attention right now.
Right.
Okay?
Because when the funding gets approved by the state and then jumps into our account is after we had our budget hearing. So that funding wasn't available to allocate those before the budget hearing last year. So, because remember, the Student Opportunity Act got voted in later on, and so those additional huge increases to the city, as we promised folks where they would be based on their feedback, we want to make sure that those went strictly to social emotional support. So the special ed department was managing the funds, but the actual personnel was being managed by the school building principals.
And I think that something essential on the budget, that it was there because I remember seeing it when we were discussing the budget for the school department, is that the position that, the breakdown on the position that we see per school, we also have last year's position, so we were able to compare because, I mean, it is essential to have, that's basically on the budget is what reflects the interest of the school.
Right.
Interest of the administration, how we gonna actually deal with a specific issue.
Right.
And that tells us as well, like, if for next year, the student-teacher ratio was gonna be different than this year, because if we have less teachers with the same amount of students, that means that we're gonna have more students per teacher. So, and so far so on. So it is important to have that here. Right now, what we have is fiscal year 2023, which is basically the most recent data you have. But that if we have the 2022, that also tells us a lot of information in terms of analyzing the budget and see what the true deficits are on the budget.
Yeah, I do recall that last year's budget, we did compare the previous budget with the current budget proposal as far as FTEs per each school. That's correct, yeah.
And the city, we go farther, we go like until what's expenditure on May 30, I think it is, right? May 30 or something like that, because we go farther up and see what's the expenditure. So we can allocate, better understand the allocation of the recommendation of the mayor. But that will be definitely a good data that to discuss the budget in a way that is sincere, to make sure that, you know, we have the resource where we're supposed to have it.
Yeah, it's transparent from year to year, so everyone knows like what we're gaining and what we're losing, or what the trade-offs are.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So we know that we're meeting every school's goals, but also the district-wide goals. That makes sense.
It's like a startup. It's like, we don't know what was the last year.
Right.
Right? Councilor Rosario.
Thank you, through you. Did the new LAE board members get to see this budget? Did they get to review it, the new LAE, and how long did they actually have it in their hands, like?
I would say maybe,
They had it,
I don't think it could have been longer than 2 weeks, Counselor.
Yeah.
Because they had been recently appointed. But yes, they did review and they did vote, but I don't think it was longer than 2 weeks. I can get you an exact number of days.
And then,
Our first meeting was shortly after they were appointed to the board.
following up, and in an honest opinion, you think that amount of time, it's an accurate time to approve a budget this big for the new LAE board?
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously, you know, a longer time to review is better, obviously, and what the appropriate number of days is, I'm not sure. But, you know, I think that, you know, there was time for them to review and ask us questions, you know, as far as what we were designated. And again, most of our allocation is just mostly based on how many kids are in the school, right? And, you know, the larger schools obviously have larger budgets because the per pupil means that they're getting an additional $20,000 for every student they have over the smaller schools, you know.
I mean, I ask the questions because, I mean,
So normally, Counselor, We usually have the LAE boards, a budget subcommittee, and they're part of the whole budget process. So this past year, Pat Mariano served from the LAE board as the budget subcommittee person, and she sat at every school planning session through the month of March. So usually we have 2 to 3 members from the board that have that, and so they bring that information to the rest of the board. But given that we had 3 new people appointed at the end of April, they had roughly 2 weeks to review what has been proposed by the school leaders and the district leaders in the budget.
So they questioned Ms. Pat Mariano through the budget, I'm assuming, because she was in it?
Pat Mariano asked us a lot of questions at each of the school planning sessions, yes.
Okay, but I'm not talking about the new members. Did they sit down with Pat Mariano to get the information? I mean, to get familiar with the
Yeah,
budget?
no, I think they got the packet, you know, they heard our presentation, you know, yeah. I'm not sure how much, you know, direct questions they had with the Chair Mariano.
Yeah, because we report to the chair, so you know what I'm saying? So I'm not clear what the process is within the membership. But I do know that prior to being voted in to the LAE board, they received training. And I'm not sure if part of that training was how to review a school budget, a district budget, and what are the things to look for because you're held accountable based on your vote.
Thank you.
Follow-up question on that. The LEE board reviewed the budget. Did you guys send this budget as part of their every 3-month report to the school committee?
I think I sent the quarterly report to the school committee, on April 1st or something, or might have been a couple weeks later, because I think April 16th was the first 3 months of me being interim. So I think we didn't send it until April 16th. I know that I put several updates in that on attendance, discipline, you know, celebrations, things like that. I don't recall if I put any budgetary information in that. I can take a look at that. I can actually share that, I think, with you folks. I think that's a public
No, I mean, I think it will be important if the departments share this budget at the same time that it got shared with the LEE board so they can review it, even though they probably don't have the opportunity to review it and to suggest any type of changes or to vote on it. But I think it will be a couple of things. First of all, responsible, understanding that they will be taking over the LEE board at some point, and anything you want to put it.
Yeah.
But I think it will be even more open and transparent if we share it with the
I think it might be up on our website right now.
It is, our budget is on the website.
No, but I mean, that doesn't mean that, I mean, if I want to look at it, yes, I can go to the website, but that's not my point. My point is to make them feel part of the school.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That's basically what I mean.
I think definitely it'll be included on the June quarterly report to them. It's just that, you know, we don't send reports to them every month.
It could be part of the report, but it could be part of that a very appreciative courtesy, because I mean it will be great. So they are elected officials, even though we are under the current law. But I mean they are part of our community, and they can inform us as a city council members. What is it that they wanted to see this discussion to be guided to? Councilors, any questions in regard to the budget so we can go over a couple of schools if you guys want to? I usually go over my schools, the district that I represent. Councilor Rosario.
Question to the Assistant Superintendent. When it's clicking and I'm seeing it, when you said the safety officers that are under you, they have opportunity to actually take another position in school, what kind of extra training do they get to be prepared to take those positions to, you know, if they want to move up or they want to become counselors or whatever, what kind of training do you guys offer to them, to the safety officers, extra training? If they want to move up to any other position, how do they move up to, or, you know, how do they get promotion in the school, getting out of the safety to go into another position in the school, what kind of, do they get any training in the meantime when they present the, you know, that they want to move up or they want to move to that department? How do we say, yes, you could be here, or this is what you need to take, or?
So we've had several safety officers who have applied to open positions in their school buildings, such as school culture specialists, or if they decide to be parent liaisons or other roles. But it is really up to them if they want to apply to those positions, and they go through the interview process just like anyone else. And of course, their experience in the building is heavily factored into that. Their relationships that they have with the families, the students, and the staff members also influences that. And once they do get into the position, if they're offered the position and they accept the position, training does, on-the-job training does happen. Just like when they applied for the safety officer positions, they receive on-the-job training. So it's pretty much part of the regular hiring process if they're interested. There's no promotion into a position. There's opportunity to apply and apply the years of experience that you've been working in Lawrence Public Schools towards that position.
Is there now some ex-safety officer actually working in another position in the school?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're all going up, basically. Page 14, the Gilmet Elementary. I see here that the education supplies, they went down significantly, $80,000, and that looked like it was a sharp number, not based on actual needs. Yeah, 14. So, there is any reasons as to why that cuts went down like that? I mean, knowing the fact that in 2021, it was close to the amount that it was spent in 2022, and fairly close to the 2023, and then it went down almost 100,000.
Yeah, Principal Cunningham is here. We thank her for her time. You know, the education supplies can be things that change year by year. There are some things that, for example, we used to buy a lot of 5-6 years ago that we don't purchase much of because we have those things on the computer or computer program. So if you were concerned about, if you think that there are some educational materials that the kids might need, you know, Ms. Cunningham can answer those questions right now.
Just wondering about what that specific got so sharp. I mean, knowing that it's a 3-year history of more than 200,000. Now this year we're going to 133,000.
Yep, so hi, Jessica Cunningham, principal of the Gilmet Complex. We actually overhauled our curriculum and we adapted new curriculum that the district is providing. And so what I was able to do with the education supplies is disperse it into other accounts because the district is covering a lot of the expenses for the curriculum.
Can you go back to the last part?
Sure. So we overhauled the curriculum, and the district is actually able to provide us with a lot of the curriculum. So I was able to take that money and disperse it into other accounts. So that's why you see a big decrease in that, because the district is providing us with the curriculum. So I'm not having to use the local budget to pay for curriculum.
Is the curriculum consistent with other schools?
It is. Okay. It is now, yeah. Now that I changed it, we are using CKLA for literacy and Eureka Squared for mathematics and No Atom for science, okay, as well as intervention programs that are pretty consistent with the district.
Okay. And is the ratio between students and teachers at the Gilmet similar to what is at the school, at the district level, district-wise?
Yeah, I believe so.
What is the ratio for the district?
I think the Gilmet ratio, I think, is 11.1 students to, to each teacher. I'm just gonna pull it up.
No.
Yes. It's a very
11?
good staff-to-student ratio.
No, not staff.
Oh, excuse me.
No, student teacher, I don't wanna see staff. That doesn't mean much. Student teacher,
The student-to-teacher ratio.
that's what it matters.
It may be between 11 and 14 per teacher, because a lot of the funding has been appropriated for co-teaching at the schools. So there's
Mine,
2 adult teachers in each classroom.
I mean, it sounds a little low, but can you go back and once we have the budget discussion at the full council level, can you bring those numbers up?
I think, you know,
Just not for the Gilmet only, but I mean, obviously, per school, it will be a good list to have. And, I mean, I have my eye at the Gilmet, so I wanna see.
No, the ratios are very good across the district. For example, when I was visiting Ms. Cunningham's school about 6 weeks ago, you know, went into a couple classes that are co-teaching classes, right? So there might have been, 20, 21 students in there, but there were two teachers, because it's a co-teaching classroom. You know, one of them might have been working with kids learning English or maybe with special education kids, but they're both in the same classroom. You know, so that does count into the student-teacher ratio, which is, pretty low at all of our schools. And our kids deserve it, like you said, so that we meet the same standards that the other area schools are meeting, so the kids are competitive.
Just bring that back, per district and, a good list for other schools, so we can have that data. I'm good with the questioning at the Gilmet. I see that the budget went up by $1.3 million, and that and the other one was $756,000, which is good.
So about $2 million for the building.
Yeah. Another quick question that I have is that I see some schools that have the therapists and assistants. And we don't have that in either or of the schools. They go med. How you guys have that criteria to determine what school needs the therapist and what doesn't?
So the therapists and assistants are actually occupational therapists, physical therapists, and speech assistants. So these are specifically for students who are special education and require those assistants. So there may not be those students at the school. I don't want you to confuse therapists and assistants with social workers and psychologists.
Yeah.
Those would actually be listed in the teachers.
Okay.
Okay.
That's important to clarify,
Yeah.
because that's exactly what I was thinking.
So they might be, their home school might be one school, but they're itinerant, so they would move from school to school serving kids who need those services.
All right, I think that we went over pretty much half of the budget, so the other half will be next week, on the 21st. So we probably have some questions. Councilors, any other questions in regard to the Council Infante?
Before I get into my specific schools, but I do see across the board that there's a decrease in extra duty. I'm assuming extra duty refers to responsibilities outside of a staff member's scope.
Yeah, could be, for example, at the high school, we run a Saturday program for students who might be a little bit behind or might have some absences. That would be extra duty. One of the things one of our clerks is doing right now is doing some extra duty after school hours and receiving purchase orders and doing inventories, things like that. Obviously, if we have one of our water sprinklers break, like at the high school on a Saturday night, we would pay custodians extra duty to come in and help clean up, make sure that the space was, ready to go for the students on Monday. For example, last week, we probably paid out some extra duty to our facility staff as, we looked at all of a sudden it was going to be rain and thunderstorms on Friday, so we had to set up indoors in addition to outdoors. So we probably had to pay a little extra duty to the facilities crew to stay late on Wednesday night to start setting up the indoor section. So it could be a variety of different things for extra duty, Councilor Infante.
I don't have any questions for the Weatherby. I see that the Weatherby is increasing, but under Frost Elementary, I see that we're cutting the 30,000 from textbooks. Are we okay with textbooks at that school? Is there another
Yeah, again, most of our curricular materials are being purchased by the Office of Curriculum Instruction at this point, and a lot of it is not per se paper-bound books anymore. Could be some replacement workbooks, things like that, but most of the curriculum that we purchase are things that students can access through their Chromebooks.
Thank you, Superintendent. And my last question is under professional services. I do see an increase of 58,000. I'm assuming the school has found ways to save money in that area. I don't know what professional services entails in terms of the school environment.
Professional services, could be, somebody helping a principal with supervision and evaluation. Could be someone come in and working on instructional strategies with teachers on multilingual learners. Could be a range of different things, engaging families, things like that. Grade school partnership could be helping a school on how to engage the families in their neighborhood, things like that. But usually those things kind of go up and go down based on what the principal sees as a need. Maybe one year there's really a need for some science professional development with their staff members, and maybe after the staff members get it, then the need the next year is not there. So, they reduce the amount that they request.
Thank you.
Councilors, any questions in regard to the budget regarding to the Lawrence Public Schools?
Yes.
Councilor Levy.
Just only a quick question. So you said that we are allocating an increase in electricity. Are you looking for like some of the new programs to load that electricity that we're going to have here in the city of Lawrence?
Yeah.
And also through the solar panels to be using in the school?
Yes. We, I think we stated earlier, we have been in conversations with Anil, who works in the city on renewable energy resource, especially solar, things like that. We are going to be getting electric buses in a few years, so we have been doing some grant work in those areas to see what we can do to have renewable, whether it's solar panels or something else, and also to make our schools more energy efficient so that we can reduce heating and electricity bills.
It is a way to start implementing or getting those solar panels?
We did put in a grant application about three months ago for some solar panels. We did not receive permission to move forward in that grant, so we'll be looking at some other things to apply for in the near future. Those projects would take some years to get done if we were thinking about putting solar panels on roofs of some of our buildings, for examples. But we will be probably writing some more grant proposals for those, and we'll see if we're successful in that.
So I know that there's some schools that are in need of some repair. Are you thinking to do some of those repairs now?
Well, I think, the difficulty with the repairs is if we do want to do something at one of our buildings and we want to use school department money to do that, we have to file a waiver with the state to get permission to spend over $150,000. It's called, I think it's a critical need waiver. It's a waiver that we have to send to the Commissioner of Education to say this is why we think this repair is critical for this school. And it needs to be approved for us to be able to spend Chapter 70 money on facility upkeep.
All right, thank you.
Any questions, Councilor? All right, we have half of the question done, so next week, on the 21st, we have the other half.
The 31st, next week's the 9th, right?
All right, thank you so much. We highly appreciate that you guys were here.
It was great talking to you, counselors. It was great to see you Friday night as well. Look forward to keep working together. And we will be forwarding the information that you requested as far as position titles, salaries, and locations, so you can take a look at
By
those.
school, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Superintendent, I just want to mention one more thing. Thank you to everybody from the school department that took their time to come over to be part of this discussion. We highly appreciate your presence here.
No, a lot of principals and department heads obviously feel it's very important to get you the information that you need, which is why so many of them came out tonight. Obviously, they care deeply about the kids, the city of Lawrence, and the schools that they serve in. So, of course, anytime you want us, we'll be there to answer as many questions as we can.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night. Good to see everyone.
Thank you, have a good night. Where's the Mr. Ayanelo. Mr. Ayanelo. We haven't finished it with you.
Past your bedtime, Mark, tell him, right? Mark, we'll see you soon, buddy. Take care.
So Ariel. I'm so proud of you. Yeah, you did great. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I followed him, or he followed me. He was my principal in elementary.
No way.
Then followed me all the way to high school. He became the principal.
Wow.
And then now
Small-
works
small
for the
town.
city, and look at him, superintendent.
Mark?
No, pero que pase por ahí, déjalo por aquí.
Bye, Mark. Mr. Ayanelo.
Yes.
Mark, well, it's been a journey this budget season, and we would like to thank you first for being available for everything you have presented to us. One of the things that we haven't, we were not able to touch on one of your departments, but later on we received some information. We received some information about, you know, a concerning situation that we would like to kind of like, you know, we probably don't have it under control, but I mean, I just wanted to at least have an opportunity to discuss this. And this is the purchase and contract agent of the city of Lawrence. The purchase and
The position, purchasing agent? Yeah, she
Purchasing agent,
reports
yes.
to me, yes.
It reports to you. Is that position, it's a union position as far as
It's
I
a
know,
union
right?
position, yes.
Yeah. And on that, the discussion, it's under the supervisors union, right?
Yes.
So then you say that the negotiation with that union
We-
is
we-
going on?
Yeah, we think we may have, you know, we've made just last week, we made another offer to the union, and they're taking it back to the membership, so I'm hoping it'll get ratified.
And when it comes to that position, that's the
There was
proposal?
that position was one of the targeted positions we were trying to increase the salary on,
Yeah.
so.
What I'm, you know, it's not about the person at all, but when it comes to that position, I think that it will be important to understand the real meaning of that position and what and the impact that will have, that position will have within the community and to all of us. That's a position that is essential to keep everything aligned according to the law and the contract, but as well as making sure that we do things the right way.
Yeah, if I can just add, Genovi Martinez, our purchasing agent, she has really transformed that department. There's a lot, everything is done by the book. We have, she's doing a wonderful job, you know, getting that department in supporting all the other departments that use the procurement office to purchase things. So I'm just hoping that I can't divulge what we're not supposed to, what's in the contract agreement, but hopefully we did target that position for an increase in pay, and we're hoping the union agrees to that, and we can implement it as soon as it'll be down in front of the council if they do ratify it at the next council meeting, hopefully.
So for that position or for the entire union?
There's a few other positions we targeted. There was a few positions we asked the union. These positions are just underpaid according, in comparison to their peers. And the purchasing agent was one of them. We had a few other positions as well. So we asked in our union negotiations, we wanted to increase some targeted positions that were in there that are not in line with their peers. So we would need to escalate their salaries. So that's what's in front of the union now.
Do you mind if we can get an update once that the unions decide whether or not they're going to move forward?
Well, once they approve, if they ratify the agreement, then we'll sign an MOU. The MOU contains the targeted position, so that'll be shared with the council when it comes down, the MOU. You'll see all the positions that we targeted.
Yeah, we want to make sure that at least, positions like that, that are so important, are taken care of, independently of who's in the position.
Mhm.
But understanding the fact that, that person has transformed the department and have made a tremendous effort to
Yep.
ensure that things are being done by the book, that tells us a lot about the integrity of the person, but also the importance of doing things according to the law.
Yeah, she's, if I can just add briefly, but, she's been here for a couple of years now, and she's already got her certificate, MCPPO certified. She's, she's done all above and beyond what's been asked of her, and so she really is again, many of the positions that report to me are really top-notch in the state, and, Janelle's turning into one of those as well. We do a lot of innovative things here in Lawrence, and unfortunately, communities come after looking for our people because they do have, we do have some extraordinary people here. So that's why we've made a concerted effort to try and, we had the Collins Center do the report. We had a lot of positions that needed to be upgraded because we're just losing them to other positions or to other cities. And the city of Lawrence, I know everybody doesn't like to pay a lot of money, but if you want, you get what you pay for in this particular regard. But we do have a few, all the people on the finance staff are top-notch. Another one that we targeted was the principal assessor. Everyone knows the principal assessor, chief assessor, and that's another targeted position because, he can go to any other municipality and make a lot more money. So.
Well, then, when it comes to that, this is specific position, this person have a great curriculum and resume, and she's well educated. But I think that we need to make sure that all the efforts are made. Councilors, any questions in regard to this?
Yes.
Councilor Levy.
Thank you. So when a person is in a position that is part of the union, can that position can be changed at non-union?
With the union's permission, and we have done that with, well, for example, the chief assessor's position, I think I mentioned at a council before, that when the incumbent leaves the city, the next chief assessor will not be in the union. And we negotiated to get that position out, and when that person leaves the union, another position, I think it's a parking manager, goes into the union. So we had a non-union position, we wanted to swap, hey, we'll give you this non-union position, let this union position come out. So we did that with 4 positions about 3 or 4 years ago. The treasurer is no longer in the union, the city clerk is no longer in the union, and the water commissioner, and then it was a chief assessor. Those 4 positions we didn't feel should have ever been in the union, but we had to negotiate to get them out. And so we put other positions in the union, and the union agreed to let those positions out.
So, but what I can hear right now is like the person need to leave the position, like it's with the city, let's say the city clerk. So the person left, now the new person that is coming in is gonna be out of the union, and you have to give practically another position to the union to do the interchange.
Right, so I think with the
So,
city
but
clerk's
no, the
position, we
same
swapped.
person can get out of that position.
Well, I mean, a union position, obviously, the union would argue that these positions shouldn't come out, and of course, the city's trying to argue we'd like to get them out, so you have to negotiate. So that's what we did about 3, 4 years ago. We targeted some positions to come out, and we said, well, if you let those out, we'll let these go in, these positions in, so the union wouldn't lose any union dues, or you lose any money. But it is, there's a lot of positions I don't think that should be in the union, and, in negotiations, we bring them up and try and get them out. But obviously, the union doesn't want to release those people from the union, so it's a give and take.
So, the city can create a new position similar to that one and transfer the person?
Well, the union would probably take issue with that, and probably would file a labor charge against the city, saying, oh, we're just changing the title so we can get out of the union, circumventing the collective bargaining process. So that's the trouble with that. You have to be very careful. I mean, if it's a different position of duties that we're not in the union to begin with, then we're okay. But when the duties are the same duties that somebody in the union was doing, you can't really take that away from the union. That's against collective bargaining rules. So,
Understandable. Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
At this point, Councilor, if there is any other questions in regard to the budget, I will entertain a motion. Usually, the budget goes up to the full council.
Motion to send to the full council as a committee report.
There is a motion on the
Second.
table to send this item as a committee report, properly second. Any discussion? I hear none. At this point, I call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, everybody, for serve on this special meeting discussing this item. And at this point, I entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, there is a motion on the table, properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.